achtbare Deputy Speaker, achtbare Premier in haar afwesigheid, sowel as aan my achtbare collega's van die kabinet, the head of the department, the CEO of Cape Nature, all the officials. Thank you, members of the Parliament, thank you for being here and for the opportunity. I first of all want to thank the department and Cape Nature for the summary. I think it's a very good idea because in one page you can see our budget. Honourable Deputy Speaker, let me start by thanking the department under the leadership of Piet van Zyl and Dr. Omar for a job well done. Honourable Deputy Speaker, at the time when the country is in a crisis, we meet to discuss the budget for the Department of Environmental Affairs and Development Planning. We are in a crisis because of gross mismanagement and incredible corruption that has ripped our moral fabric apart. Some independent experts are stating that state capture has cost South Africa hundreds of billions. It has cost Eskom an estimated 500 billion, and the bulk of this money has gone in a handful of families that have been enriched at the cost of everyone else. Achtbare Deputy Speaker, ons in die Wes-Kaap staan hier skaamteloos, want die rekord wys dat hierdie provinsie nog nooit gekaap was of enige van sy entiteite nie. Elke jaar word die verskillende munisipaliteite en die staatsentiteite se jaarstate geaudit en gepubliseer. Elke jaar lewer die ouditeur-generaal 'n verslag oor die uitkomste van al hierdie entiteite se finansiële bestuursvermoë. Elke jaar vir die afgelope 10 jaar hoor ons hoe dinge versleg en hoe entiteite en munisipaliteite in ander provinsiale departemente bankrot is en hoe honderde miljarde onregmatig verkoos word. Dieselfde tyd hoor ons hoe die Wes-Kaap soos 'n paal bo water uitstaan. Ons het in die 2018-19 83% skoon audits ontvang vir ons provinsiale departemente en entiteite. Die naaste provinsie aan ons Gauteng met 52%. Elke jaar het die Wes-Kaap verbeter. In 2009 was daar geen munisipaliteit in die Wes-Kaap wat skoon audits gekry het nie. 10 jaar later het ons 21 skoon audits uit 30 munisipaliteite. Dit is waarom die Wes-Kaap daarin kon slaag om 75% van alle werksgeleenthede wat in Suid-Afrika geskep is in die Wes-Kaap geskep. Die rede is, achtbare Deputy Speaker, want ons steel nie van ons mense nie. Ons bestee die geld waar ons beloof het om dit te doen. Honourable Deputy Speaker, the Western Cape Government's budget demonstrates a commitment of maximum citizens' impact. There are 7 themes around which the provincial budget has been built. These 7 themes are jobs, safety, service delivery, youth, infrastructure, good governance, and climate change. This is truly a budget for good governance and climate change. We have been hit by so many disasters over the last couple of years, and we're trying to play catch-up all the time. We need to be, we are reactive, and we need to be more proactive. Honourable Deputy Speaker, you will see in this budget that we try to get ahead of this curve. If we want to make a real change in people's lives, we need to be 3 steps ahead. We need a quantum leap. It is a difficult thing because we are also in the middle of a national government economic meltdown. A government where the national electricity grid is under severe pressure and Eskom is at the risk of falling apart. This province is a giant province, at 129,000 square kilometers in size, and every community in this huge province is important to us. We look at the needs across our province and we spend the people's budget accordingly. Around 75% of our budget is aimed at the rural areas outside the city of Cape Town. In addition, the province understands the importance of building and maintaining infrastructure. Therefore, over the MTF period, nearly 28 billion across all departments will be spent on infrastructure. This includes new houses, roads, schools, hospitals, wastewater and sewage works. Honourable Speaker, this year the department has been allocated 639.6 million for the 2019-2020 financial year. The bulk of this has been allocated to the biodiversity management entity represented by Cape Nature. The Department of Environmental Affairs and Development Planning can stand up and look back with pride at the last 5 years' accomplishments. The head of the department, Mr. Piet van Zyl, has been awarded with many awards for the work his department has done, and when it comes to good governance, there can be surely few departments in the country that can be compared. Another highlight from the department is the Regional Socio-Economic Program known as RCEP. This is an innovative program whereby we are making better living spaces in all our communities and where we aim to redress apartheid spatial legacies through better integrated development. Some of the projects that have been completed includes building safe walkways in vulnerable communities to multi-purpose sports grounds and youth centres with free access to internet in the rural communities. Honourable Deputy Speaker, one example is a resource centre focusing on youth development and training in Verliesdorp that cost 10 million rand. In the new budget, an amount of 104 million has been allocated for the MTF period to further address the needs of our poorest communities and to deliver visible service delivery projects. 83.9 million has been allocated over the 2019 MTF towards enabling the promotion and stimulation of the greener economy and a more water-secure province. In addition, 37.1 million has been allocated to the department towards the Breeder River Environmental Resource Protection Plans, the Berg River Improvement Plan, and the Sustainable Water Management Plan. These plans all address the provincial strategic goals. Honourable Deputy Speaker, when it comes to Cape Nature, the entity has an overall budget of 396 million rand for the 2019-2020 financial year. Of this, 48.4 million is from own generated revenue. We are very proud of the growth of income generation, largely due to tourism. Many more people are visiting our exclusive and world-class nature reserves, and bookings are often required many months in advance. We look forward in seeing continued growth in this regard in the coming period. A major threat for Cape Nature biodiversity conservation work is the risk of the spread of invasive alien species. The entity will continue to focus its efforts on removing alien vegetation in priority catchment areas to help improve water security in our province. Since 2009, Cape Nature has cleared more than 250,000 hectares of water-sapping alien vegetation from its protected areas. Cape Nature will continue to implement the integrated catchment management strategy that will contribute to ensure that clean, healthy mountain catchment yield enough water for the public. Achtbare Deputy Speaker, die departement en Cape Nature se amptenare en leierskap het weer eens oor die afgelope 10 jaar uitstekende werk onder toenemende druk verrig. Ek wil van hierdie geleentheid gebruik maak om meneer Piet van Zyl en Dr. Omar met hulle spanne geluk te wens vir hulle werk wat hulle uitstekend verrig het om die gemeenskap van die Wes-Kaap te dien. Met dit lê ek dan ons begroting aan u voor. Ek dank u.
Die achtbare Philander.
Dankie, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, there are undeniable ecological limits to growth and development. This is worrying as growth and development have become the buzzwords to alleviate poverty. Thus, crucial buzzwords have to become environmental resilience and sustainability. Given the strained fiscal framework, the department receives a small fraction of the 2019 budget. Nonetheless, every cent spent on sustainable development programs and environmentally sound initiatives promotes the much needed attention to these ecological limitations looming over the province. We thus welcome the 639.6 million allocated to the department for the 2019 financial year. the 9.2% increase adequately above inflation, showing commitment in recognizing the crucial work performed by this department. It adopts and adapts policies that will mitigate the effects of climate change, address ecological risks, resource infiniteness, and manages rapid urbanization within a tiny budget. It is widely known that the province suffered an extensive period of drought and a series of rampant fires. The departmental agency Cape Nature will receive 49.2% of the department's budget for 2019, which includes an earmarked priority allocation of 10 million rand for disaster prevention measures, increased to 11 million for the 2021-22 budget year. Should we encounter these natural disasters, this will promote environmental resilience. In addition, Water for Sustainable Growth and Development initiatives will receive an earmarked 20.1 million. The RCEP VPUU program, managed by the department within the Development Directorate, will receive an earmarked 86 million over the 2019 MTF. This intergovernmental approach will address the developmental needs of communities by delivering visible service delivery projects in our poor communities. Additional priority allocations over the 2019 MTF include 16.9 million for the Burger Improvement Plan, which provides a framework for water management, 14.9 million earmarked for greener economy initiatives, which includes projects such as Langerig community work that capacitates communities within their own infrastructure, waste entrepreneurs that receive support for their contribution in resource efficiencies via waste management, and the Smart Air program, amongst others, which as a whole ensures that we develop within the boundaries of the environment. This department will also be the leader in implementing the Western Cape Climate Change Response Strategy to coordinate responses and to identify opportunities for carbon reduction, which will promote resilience in the face of climate change. In Suid-Afrika is daar ongeveer 19 beleidsstukke wat die interpretasie van volhoubare ontwikkeling toelaat. Maar navorsing op die gebied toon dat interne onsamenhangendheid implementering hinder. 'n Vaagheid omring hierdie beleide, maar soos blyk uit die Wes-Kaapse begroting van 2019 en die prestasies van die afgelope 10 jaar in hierdie verband, is planne gereed vir implementering om doelbewus in te gryp deur die provinsiale departement. Laat my toe om uit te brei. Deur prioritisering van 'n groen ekonomie vind 70% van Suid-Afrika se hernubare energievervaardiging in die Wes-Kaap plaas. Dit is nou wettig in 22 munisipaliteite om jou eie sonkrag-energie te produseer. Deur 'n gefokusde veldtog om kragbronne te diversifieer, loop hierdie provinsie ver voor in terme van energiesekerheid en meer as 250.000 hektaar uitheemse plantegroei is deur Cape Nature reserves uitgewis wat dan waterveiligheid verseker. Meanwhile, Deputy Speaker, Eskom fails us and resorts to the blame game. This ANC-endorsed SOE recently blamed the crisis on diesel shortages, but we all know that reliance on diesel extrapolates CO2 emissions, which threatens biodiversity. If they would only stop looting public funds and follow the DA-led government examples of energy diversification, plans, and good, clean governance, we could have avoided this crisis altogether. Nonetheless, Deputy Speaker, there are also 7 key documents that signifies the real concerns around climate change, from which one can identify the 3 most significant changes to mitigate the effects that hinder our development, and they include finding methods for renewable energy production, finding alternative ways to improve the quality of life by empowering initiatives such as vegetable gardens or reuse and recycling plants, and to pursue decoupled growth by using less resources per unit for economic output and so reducing environmental impacts via adaptations of governmental policies along with the necessary technological innovations. Deputy Speaker, the allocations made in Vote 9 and what the province achieved thus far successfully accounts for these significant changes. It is thus clear that the Department of Environmental Affairs and Development Planning in the Western Cape is embarking on a successful journey to mitigate the negative effects in the environment. Deputy Speaker, unfortunately, the department faces challenges, one of which is of particular importance is an unfunded position which slows down the project rollouts and budgetary constraints that has forced projects to be rescheduled. We thus need to appeal to all citizens to change our behavioral patterns as we've reached the anthropogenic era where our manipulation of the environment and specifically the contribution to climate change has worrying effects on agricultural production which threaten our very existence in terms of food and water security. Ons gemeenskappe speel 'n baie groot rol en ons moet besef dat ons elkeen het 'n aandeel en 'n verantwoordelikheid om ons natuurlike omgewing asook ons omgewingsintegriteit te behou. Dit is en dit bly ons almal se verantwoordelikheid. To conclude, Deputy Speaker, as the Democratic Alliance, we welcome this budget, and I would like to commend the department for its crucial engagement and activism in recognizing the biophysical limits of the earth and resource infiniteness. Its continued efforts will certainly pay off in the long term. Speaker, allow me to thank the Honourable Minister Anton Berdel for his political leadership, as well as his passion, the head of ministry, the HOD, all chief directors and directors, my colleague and previous chair member Simmers for his guidance and direction, also all my colleagues, this side of the benches, as well as opposition colleagues, for their inputs during committee meetings, our entity Cape Nature and Dr. Omar, Mrs. Shireen van die Kerk, our committee coordinator, and all assistants, our legal staff, as well as all staff on the 5th floor. I thank you.
The Honourable Diana.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, Deputy Speaker, during the SONA in February, our President Ramaphosa highlighted a number of actions and commitments to create jobs and address the plight of our youth. The National Department has and will continue to create work opportunities through the number of environmental programs being rolled out. Amongst the highlights achieved are the creation of 71,948 work opportunities and 28,243 full-time equivalents, created with more than 60% of these participants being young people and women. 140 wetlands have been rehabilitated as part of the Working for Water effort to achieve the goal of land degradation neutrality in South Africa. Placing 56,660 hectares of land under rehabilitation and or restoration, providing initial treatment to 171,198 hectares of land invaded by invasive alien plants and undertaking follow-up treatment on 601,944 hectares of land. The national government's focus on the youth will be scaled up through education and skills development. For example, the national government has initiated a mass training program for youth to improve their skills with accredited environmental training, courses and support programs targeting 50,000 candidates. The national government is working with municipalities, provinces, public entities, science councils and stakeholders in the environmental sector to make this possible. Honorable Deputy Speaker, A number of environmental programs are being undertaken by the National Department and its entities, including the South African National Biodiversity Institute, to educate our youth about the environment and to train young people to enter this vital field. The national government's youth employment program is aimed at exposing young South Africans to the culture of working as a springboard for future employment. We acknowledge the Youth Support Program, which is a national government initiative that is implemented by the Provincial Department in partnership with municipalities, wherein young people are placed at local government to fulfill environmental functions like waste management and air quality monitoring. I now need to talk about the Western Cape. During SOPA, the Honorable Premier claimed that her government worked with municipalities, NGOs, and residents to prevent any town from running out of water, even though Beaufort West, Central Karoo, and Canaland remained severely stressed. Honorable Speaker also mentioned installation of groundwater systems. In the SOPA, you could see a government which was very concerned with the water crisis in the province, which was a self-orchestrated crisis, by the way. Having looked at the budget decisions of this department, you clearly see where its priorities are. For instance, the RSEP program is allocated over 86 million over the 2019 MTEF, and only 20 million is allocated for water for sustainable growth and development. The department in this blue book tells us that it is coordinated and completed various projects at schools and hospitals to increase water security with groundwater supply. It also states that the Western Cape government assisted many municipalities to install boreholes and appointed underground specialists to assist the municipalities. In Beaufort West, as we speak, many of these boreholes are not working. If this department is serious about water, it must put in more funding for water projects. Deputy Speaker, the 9.25% increase in the budget for this department is welcome. However, the challenge remains that this 639 million allocated to the department is very little and shows that the DA does not take this department and issues of environmental serious. The decrease in the budget for goods and services is really disappointing. Of the 639 million budget, only 49 million is used for goods and services. Now, to want to decrease that even further is really disappointing. Program 2 is the only project whose budget was decreased. When we zoom into the summary of payments and estimates for this program, you will be shocked. The functions of Program 2 include research, departmental strategy, information management, and climate change. The sub-program responsible for legislative development has a zero budget for the year. Budget for research and development is decreased by over 9%, and that of climate change is reduced by over 20%. Allow me to voice my concerns over these budget cuts. Firstly, the provincial government is taken to court for its failure to appoint an environmental commissioner. The legislative development is needed to assist in terms of establishing this office. Secondly, Speaker, on page 434 of the Blue Book, under the subheading Climate Change Management, the department acknowledges that over the last few years, the province experienced considerable climate-related disasters, with the drought and fires being the most far-reaching and economically and socially devastating. On page 435, the department states that the capacity of the department to undertake climate change response needs to be substantially upscaled. So the decrease in the budget for the climate change sub-program is not well thought of. Given these realities, this budget should be rejected. Deputy Speaker, the African National Congress is calling on civil society and business to come on board to protect our people against a changing environment with its devastating effects as experienced during extreme weather events like droughts, floods, and desertification. We need to continue to work with and educate our communities so that all able to adapt to the changes that we are already experiencing and those that lie ahead. In conclusion, Deputy Speaker, the ANC appreciates that we must work continuously with the people to ensure the detailed implementation of our National Development Plan to eradicate colonialism and apartheid and bring closer the realization of the broad vision contained in the Freedom Charter. As ANC, we will continue our quest for an environment that is conducive to well-being and to the creation of opportunities. Let's grow South Africa. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, I wish to thank the department for their support and guidance. Equally, I would like to thank my colleagues and our partners in the province. The support and cooperation, respectively, received from the chairpersons of the Portfolio Committee for Environmental Affairs and Development Planning, Honorable Wendy Philander, Honorable Simas, and the former chairperson, Mr. Rodney Lentit. It's appreciated. I would also like to thank the head of department and his entire team. I would also like to thank the head of department
Order.
and his entire team for always going the extra mile, irrespective of the challenges and budget constraints they are facing as this department. I owe my gratitude to my political home, the African National Congress, for entrusting me with the privilege of contributing to our vision of achieving radical economic transformation. My utmost gratitude is reserved for my mother, my son Utando, and my entire family for their continued support and sacrifice, particularly during those long periods of absence from home caused by the call to bring about economic freedom to our people. I thank you.
Thank you, Member. Minister Bredell to reply.
Baie dankie, agbare Deputy Speaker. Thank you very much. Again, let me start off by thanking Mr. Piet van Zyl and Dr. Omar and their teams. They...
Order.
Jy het mos jou kans gehad. Jy het mos nou jou kans gehad.
Order.
Ek het baie tyd.
Order. The smaller part is not here, Mr. Bredell. You may continue.
I've got lots of time, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Honourable Deputy Speaker, it's important for me to thank Mr. Piet van Zyl and Dr. Omar and their teams. This is a department where we've got a lot of professional staff, and we really appreciate the intellect and the professionalism within Cape Nature as well as the department. I also want to thank Rudolf en die media departement. Baie dankie. Is min dat mense begroting op een bladsy opsom dat almal dit kan verstaan, en ek weet dis jou inisiatief, so baie dankie Rudolf. Well done. Honourable Deputy Speaker, laat my toe om, ja, ek moet dit sê, 10 jaar gelede toe ek hier ingekom het, was Ayoub se baard baie meer swart. Hy het baie gryser geraak, en ek het 'n baard bygekry, maar ons weet waar ons vandaan kom, al twee van ons. Maar dit is regtig 'n voorreg gewees om met hierdie departement oor die laaste 10 jaar te werk en saam met hulle te kon groei en saam met hulle deel te kon wees van die span. Aan Tertius as vorige voorsitter, baie dankie vir jou rol. Wendy, baie dankie collega's vir julle rolle wat julle vervul het in die staande komitee. To do oversight is not easy, but it's a crucial cornerstone of democracy. If we don't have oversight, there won't be a democracy. En daardie rol moet ons nooit onderskat nie. I also want to thank the ANC for their oversight role, especially Member Karel Beerwinkel. We know one another for years. Thank you for your role there. And Member Diana, you've got a beautiful dress on today, but a weak speech. So, but in any case, thank you for your oversight role. I really want to just mention two things, because I really think it...
Order.
I really think it's in the province's interest that we don't play around with the water crisis. Anybody who thinks that this was a made-up story is blind. They must just go and visit the dams. I mean, I don't know how you make up that story. And I also want to say to Member Diana that business and civil society will not join or will not come to the table while the ANC is in control because they can't trust them. It's as simple as that. They will just not join. They will not come to the table. And by ending, I want to thank my ministry under the leadership of Marius Durant and Magdalene Giesel for their roles and their support over the years. I thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes the debate on this vote. That also concludes the business of the day. The House is adjourned until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. The House is adjourned.